Shut up and sit down.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Underclass Mucks podcast. We're talking all things about the wrestling week gone by. I'm your host Matthew Dale, and I'm here once again with Bradley Smith.
Yep.
Apologies for last week. There was no episode last week. We had a few other commitments, so unfortunately we had to put this podcast aside. But here again, and we're here talk about Raw and SmackDown from this week. What do you think of the week of wrestling gone by? Bit of a mixed bunch.
It was an improvement from last week. Last week was quite a disappointing turnout for me for Fastlane, Raw and SmackDown. So this week there was a big improvement, especially in Raw.
Yeah, especially on Raw. I think last time we did a podcast, I think I gave Raw the edge over SmackDown, which was quite a rarity for the podcast that we've done. I've given SmackDown the edge, and I might have to say that I'd give Raw the edge again this week, mostly because maybe I've slated the part-timers before coming back and maybe ruining the product, but I think with the anticipation coming towards WrestleMania and those wrestlers that will figure, makes me a lot more excited that they are involved in the product. Which leads us to probably delve into to Monday Night Raw, and like I said, with those sort of part-timers, sort of got off with a bit of a bang with Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman addressing the F5 that he delivered to Goldberg last week, heading into WrestleMania, which is only a couple of weeks away now.
Yeah, so as you know, Fastlane, Goldberg picked up the victory over Kevin Owens in 21 seconds. And last week we saw the kind of celebration of the new Universal Champion, at which Brock Lesnar interrupted with the F5. So this week it was, the chance for Paul Heyman to kind of gloat that he said something like he did the unthinkable and managed to F5 the indestructible Goldberg. And he did look very hurt after it as well. So it was quite a similar segment to what they did last week, though. Paul Heyman said kind of the same things, that how Brock's going to beat him at WrestleMania. There can be one winner, one loser, and the winner will be Brock. He said all this before, but again, there's nothing these two can do up until they actually get to WrestleMania.
Sort of a good and bad thing in a way that Heyman can come out and sort of deliver the same promo, but it still makes people think and want to watch. When he does come out, I'm never really underwhelmed, and the crowd certainly wasn't underwhelmed. They actually got a bit of a pop, I would say, when they both came out, and sort of signals that maybe the crowd are turning on Goldberg in some form or another. And Heyman has that knack of coming out, and whatever he says is very meaningful. And although it may have sounded very much like just a recap of what happened the week before, it's still building this probable last match on the card at Mania. And I think that's all it was meant to do, and I think it ticked those boxes. Would you
yeah, agree? I agree, yeah. It's just, it's like the build-up before the main event. And, like you said, Paul Heyman, he always delivers. Brock Lesnar doesn't do anything, but that's the kind of character we've become used to now. And it's just waiting now for 2.5 weeks until WrestleMania.
And we're all used with Lesnar and what the job he has played in terms of on the mic, and that's been nothing really. When he actually made a return in 2012, I think he had a stint, and I think it was a podcast with Chris Jericho actually. He was talking to Heyman when Lesnar actually came back in 2012, and for a few weeks Heyman wasn't there by his side, and it just didn't work. He was on the mic, and it just didn't work in comparison to maybe back in 2002, where he was sort of running the show on SmackDown, and I thought his promos were a lot better from the archives that I've delved into. But it's worked with Heyman, and it sure will do, and they'll do their best to build their match up going towards WrestleMania. It was actually I'm just under 3 weeks actually. I think I made a mistake at the start. Should we move on to the next part?
The first match of the show?
Yeah, which was Dana Brooke versus Sasha Banks. Very quick match.
Yeah, it was quite a surprise to see Dana in the ring. This is probably the first time on the new Raw, maybe since the draft, or
Yeah.
is this? It's been a couple of times, and the match itself was quick. Sasha got the victory, and she held the tights again, but she didn't make it very clear. So she didn't deliver on that because this is all building to the heel turn. But she didn't. It took Michael Cole yet to say she held her tights, and yeah, Dana hit into Charlotte, which then I don't think it was timed right, but Charlotte turned on Dana, and now Dana attacked. She didn't attack Charlotte. She retaliated, and now she's become, the looks of it, a face, and they're by themselves.
I'm not really sure if many people were captivated or interested in any way by what Dana did. I mean, I think people were more surprised at her actually doing something with her. I'm not sure if she got a pop. It was more of just a surprise from the crowd, because before it's been very much like she's been made a bit of a comedy act. If you, I think a couple of weeks ago, I'm not entirely sure what the match was. It may have been Sasha against, I think it was Sasha and Charlotte. Dana's meant to pull Sasha down, and she totally misses her cue. And there's a GIF on it on Twitter, and Dana gets really annoyed on Twitter. She didn't delete the tweet. The reply's still there to some of the people. And her role as she's tried to do these little things, and it's, I don't want to slight her, but she hasn't been able to do the things that she's been told to do very effectively. So maybe and this was her chance to try and play a bigger role on Raw, and to attack the most talented female wrestler on the Raw roster. And whether anything or not will come of that, I don't think so. I don't think Dana Brooke will ever be over, as in my opinion. The potential's sure there, but I don't think anything will come of it. And it was a very, very short match, wasn't it?
Yeah. What you said, I think this might be setting up something for Charlotte to do after WrestleMania, as it looks like she's not going to be the winner, and it looks like it's going to be Sasha versus Bayley for a bit. So this is kind of giving Charlotte something to do, so she'll still be on the pay-per-view cards. And yeah, I don't think she's going to let Dana get over. She's herself is going to want to win. And yeah, I don't see much excitement in this at the minute.
No, maybe it's more of a last-ditch attempt really to try and salvage something of Dana before, maybe they make a different move. I think before, when Charlotte was going through her title reign, probably post WrestleMania 32, I think Dana was really involved a lot, and they were really trying to do something, and they reiterated the fact that she was Charlotte's protege and everything, and it just didn't work, and I really didn't want to invest myself into it, and I really didn't enjoy it, and it made me dislike Charlotte more, and it certainly made me dislike Dana. But if they try something again, I mean, Dana's been a bit more experienced on the Raw roster. Time has gone by, and we will see what comes of that. And fingers crossed for her. I'm hoping that something.
Yeah, on NXT she was doing great things.
Yeah, with Emma as well, I think.
Yeah.
So I think that's it about that at the moment. So if we move on to the first cruiserweight match of the night, one that I'm probably more interested in talking about is the second one of the night, but we will talk about that very shortly. And it was a tag team match. There was a few tag team matches, and I think it may have been 3. But the first one was TJ Perkins and Akira Tozawa against Brian Kendrick and Tony Nese. Yeah,
this was just to set up the Fatal 5-Way on 205 Live. It was just a cruiserweight match, wasn't it?
Yeah, nothing really much of that, to be honest. And Kendrick and Nese picked up the win. The thing is, I think on Raw, I don't remember, and maybe same with SmackDown. Both of these shows this week, I don't remember the wrestling that much. It was more about the storyline and some of the other promos that were featured on the show. And this was really the wrestling wasn't really. It wasn't about the wrestling. It was about setting up what happened on the 205 Live, and that really came in the form of Nese and Kendrick picking up the win, and Nese had the tights just to get maybe some momentum heading into that match that happened the following night. And I really don't know if you want anything else to say about that, to be honest with you.
On the road to WrestleMania, or especially around to this point, it's more about the segments, kind of building up the matches that are on the card. So then they have to kind of use the wrestlers that won't be at WrestleMania to kind of fill out a nice card. And yeah, there was one spot I liked, but I actually can't remember it. Like you said, you can't remember the wrestling. The one thing I don't understand is, okay, maybe Rich Swann's kind of out of the spotlight for a bit now, but why Jack Gallagher has to just kind of, he's not in this Fatal 5-Way. I mean, do you know the winner of that?
Of the Fatal 5-Way?
Yeah. It was obviously to Austin Aries this chance at WrestleMania, but it would have been nice for Jack Gallagher to be there for a reason, because now he hasn't been on Raw since he wasn't last week or this week, so he's kind of gone into the shadows now, which I don't like.
Yeah, I don't know if he was on 205 Live after Fastlane. I didn't watch it, but like, why not put him in there? You know, they've done these type of elimination matches before.
And TJ Perkins is just always around. He's not exciting anymore. As we can, when he first kind of started, it was exciting because he was the guy doing a lot of the flips. But now it's a bit. They all do a bit of the flips now, so he's not original anymore. And
if there's any consolation to maybe him or Gallagher not being involved, is because this thing with Aries now, they're probably going for it, and it really might sum up. To salvage the Cruiserweight division, and especially on Raw, because, there was a match at Survivor Series for the Cruiserweight division to move over to SmackDown. I always think it should stay on Raw because of the, the 3-hour program. It'd be very difficult to fit that in on SmackDown, although it would be the best place to be in terms of the wrestling. But if Neville and Aries, they could steal the show.
They really
Mania,
will deliver. I wouldn't say they steal it, but they would definitely get a lot of momentum for the whole card. If it's kind of 3-4 matches in, it could definitely hype the rest of it, because we know Austin Aries is very talented and Neville was just incredible. So it will be a good match. And if
it improves on the Gallagher and Neville match at Fastlane, then we're in for an absolute treat, because that was awesome to watch, and it surprised me in a way as well. But like you said, it's a shame that Gallagher hasn't been in the picture. We will see what happens, even if he is involved in, probably not in Mania at all. Maybe something on a pre-show. They might. Well, I'm guessing they could incorporate just people on the main Raw roster with the Cruiserweight division in the Battle Royal. Andre the Giant.
Maybe.
So that may be an opportunity for him there.
I would want to see the Gallagher spot again though in the Battle Royal, because we've already seen it and it was a special moment. So I'm not sure. Maybe they'll have their own like mini Battle Royal or something. Tozawa, he's looking good still.
Yeah, I thought he was going to pick up the pinfall. Actually, I thought he was going to win, but
Tony Nese he's picked up one victory, I think, on Raw, and that was for an interference. So they maybe had to give him a reason to be there. I guess.
I think they did something a few weeks ago. It just popped into my head on SmackDown. There was either a number one contenders or just a match before a pay-per-view, and the Ascension, they picked up a win, like a tag team match, and it was just to give them a bit of momentum going into a pay-per-view, knowing that they're not going to win. And I think that was that whole elimination thing as well. Elimination Chamber, I believe. We moved on swiftly to another tag team match, one that I was looking forward to. I thought it would have been further on in the show.
They announced it at the start of the show.
Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe against Sami Zayn and Chris Jericho. Again, a quick match, but probably for the right reasons in terms of the storytelling.
First of all, we had the spotlight bit with Kevin Owens again, which was just fantastic once again. And I said to you a long time ago actually that we could see Triple H faction with Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe, and it looks like it's becoming a reality.
Yeah, and definitely with I think it was at Madison Square Gardens. There was
there's
and Triple H was with KO and Samoa Joe. So that sort of, you never know what.
Just a shame we haven't seen Finn Balor yet. He wasn't on it again this week.
It is a shame. He was at Madison Square Gardens, but unfortunately not on Raw. Zayn and Jericho picked up the win via DQ, and I was satisfied with what happened and in terms of the storytelling, like I just said, but they couldn't really have done much with it. I don't think it'd probably be the right decision to call it via DQ, and it's just sort of poddling along to these feuds that will sort of happen at WrestleMania.
Yeah, Joe and Zayn is kind of still going on briefly, but I think that's where Finn Balor is supposed to be. I don't know if they've left it too late now for that, but it doesn't look like Joe and Zayn will fight again at Mania. But especially for Owens and Jericho, it was great, and I can't remember, but he shouted stupidity at one point, and it really made me laugh. He got the huge pop as well, and everyone's like, Y2J, and it's coming back to face Jericho when he came back in 2007. So,
but once again, unfortunately, I don't really remember the wrestling that much. More so the KO promo before the start of the match, which again was very much like Heyman, just reiterating what's happened. And I don't think that's bad in a way, because I think the one thing that I can be critical for the WWE about is saying, yeah, people aren't going to remember what happened, so and so weeks ago. But in a way, it's good that although you're bringing up old stuff, at least you're actually painting a picture, long-term storylines, telling.
I think it was good that KO stole the whole part of that then, because I think he's the most talented guy on Raw at the minute. So to have him be the most memorable part of that is great, and Samoa Joe as well.
You say with Balor coming out and possibly coming back and possibly competing at Mania, I wouldn't rule out Balor, Joe, and Zayn in a triple threat. You could just have a simple story. There's so many more. The card is absolutely stacked, and so many ongoing storylines. So why not keep it simple for something like this?
Just NXT.
Just NXT. That's exactly what I was about to say. And just have an NXT. Not for sort of supremacy, but just to say we've all started at NXT, and it culminates at WrestleMania. All these three terrific talents.
Yeah, because to me, these are the three guys that I remember most from NXT. If you said to think of NXT champions, these are the three that would, well, not Zayn, but they'd come to mind. And like you can say Seth Rollins came from NXT, but you remember him for the Shield, and Big E, you remember him for the New Day, and then before he got dropped down to NXT. So these are the three kind of, to me, the original NXT guys, and just to see who's the most dominant out of the three of them. It'd be a really good match.
Yeah. We had another, depends who you ask, another New Day, pointless maybe, pointless segment. New Day talks? Was that what they getting their practice in before they host WrestleMania 33? What involvement they will have for the show, I do not know. And they just involved. There's just an opportunity to give New Day, some airtime, and to plug
their new DVD.
New DVD, which involves the Big Show as the main character. Hence the reason why.
It's also to give Big Show something to do now. Yeah. The Shaq. They don't want to announce it, but we all know the Shaq thing's fallen through. So and he confirms it by saying he's in the Andre the Giant. Yeah,
there really wasn't that much to say about this. Big Show was trying to talk, and the New Day would butt in and sort of set it up. Really, nothing was coming of it until sort of Titus O'Neil came in, and this whole Titus brand thing that's really annoying me. Yeah. And he's probably just going to be in the Battle Royal or anything. Maybe not even that at Mania. Did this segment do anything for you?
No, it's just for the kids, isn't it? Just a last gasp attempt to get rid of merchandise. For all of us older guys, we just want to see the breakup, because if they did it right, it'd be a great split.
Hopefully the Raw after Mania, maybe.
Hopefully.
There's usually a big moment, maybe a big face or heel turn that usually occurs.
You can really get someone like Xavier Woods over to put him in like a United States title picture.
And I think it'll be a good choice, like you said, to go with something like that. Because he has made I think he's the guy in that three.
Yeah, definitely.
And we spoke about this before. With Big E being the big guy who sort of wrestles, and he does have his he does contribute in the promos and everything. But Xavier's the guy, and Kofi's just there. When I think of the New Day, he's probably the last person. But maybe Raw after Mania, they might split. But
I hope they don't do it just as like there's a mini draft and one of them moves, because that would be very stupid.
I hope it's a big thing. That
same as like the Wyatts when Braun got left on Raw, and it's like
I hope that doesn't happen again. I hope there's a big moment that the crowd can grab onto and invest themselves in.
Well, the following pay-per-view after that is Payback, which has that good name. So
exactly, we will wait and see. The third tag team match of the night.
Probably the most annoying.
Yeah,
as if it couldn't get any more annoying.
Which really didn't last very long, like a couple of the matches already on the program. Enzo and Cass against Sheamus and Cesaro for the number one contender spot. It didn't really go the way that people may have gone. I mean, I sort of predicted what would happen, and not in the way of the club interfering, but in the way that the triple threat match at Mania would be confirmed.
Yeah. Enzo is just really annoying. I don't think anyone is even behind him anymore. It's just kind of ruining Big Cass, like his reputation as well. And I say it all the time. I just can't wait for Cesaro to move and do bigger and better things. I mean, I really like Sheamus as well, but to me, Cesaro is probably one of the top guys on Raw, and it's about time he kind of moves on. So. Yeah, we knew for a while it was going to be this triple threat, and it was confirmed as the club said, instead of there being one winner, we'll make it hard and there'll be no winners. And said Mick Foley's like, well, you'll face both of them.
Well, I like the idea of the backstage interviewer talking about the match that was upcoming. But the club sort of said, why not talk about us? We're the champs, and it was nice, but it was just overshadowed by Luke Gallows saying nerds all the time.
That's really not. There's a lot of character kind of things going wrong on Raw,
and it was just something that was easy enough. The club coming out and.
Carl Anderson's he's like the leader of the two, and he's really good. And then you got Luke Gallows, like a 40-odd-year-old man, go nerd. Yeah. It's like, come on.
And I guess with how much they've, all the tag teams have been involved, the triple threat at Mania is probably the most logical thing to do, to not leave anyone out, and to try and salvage maybe the bond between Enzo and Cass, and maybe even the club, because that sort of hasn't really been the most enjoyable thing to watch.
Yeah, I think Enzo and Cass might pick up the win just so they can keep going on for a bit longer, and then we see the split. Especially if they are doing the New Day split at the same time. You can't have two at the same time. But yeah, at the minute I do see Enzo and Cass winning, as it's kind of the most you can carry on with it a bit storyline wise.
Yeah, for me it's quite a difficult one to predict, and obviously we'll get to that in the weeks to come. And we should probably move on to the next match.
This is if you told me to think of a match on Raw that I would never want to see, this was it.
Yeah, and it went on for probably longer than I thought as well.
Wanted, yeah.
And sort of set the scene.
This is the first time I've wanted Roman Reigns to really hurt somebody.
Exactly. And to set the scene, there was a segment with Stephanie and Mick, and Mick sort of wanted to. Well, Stephanie sort of wanted more of a bond, and Mick was sort of up for the idea of the Foley and the McMahons to sort of come together a bit more. And then Stephanie sort of turns us to tides by saying, you have till the end of the show to fire someone from the Raw roster. Now, I thought easy decision, Jinder.
That's who I'd fire. But you knew from the start he was going to say Stephanie or himself.
And Jinder was probably quite fearful, and wanted to prove himself, and that's why we had the match between Jinder and Reigns. And just again, something that I don't particularly want to watch. It mainly just set up the next segment. But what did you think of that?
They just had the gong.
Yeah.
But then if you're going to have the gong, then you have to lose. And Jinder Mahal could even win. It's just. I hope after WrestleMania there's a big kind of clear out, because on SmackDown I want to talk about clear outs as well. And I hope kind of Jinder goes now, because the Raw seems quite packed, and they need to kind of, especially because personally I want to see people like Rusev come up again. So you kind of, if you're putting him with Jinder, you can't. And the reason Rusev's not around is he's having surgery at the minute, so hopefully he comes back from that a lot better. And yeah, like you said, it just set up the next segment. There was 2 Superman punches. This is to get across the frustration that Reigns is having. And
not even a spear.
Yeah, surprisingly, Shawn Michaels came out, HBK.
Yeah. and quite fittingly, really, because he's had some magical matches with Undertaker, back-to-back WrestleManias, and it was the match between Reigns and Taker was actually confirmed via social media before
It's
Raw.
It's really kind of ruining. Like, I remember when I first had Twitter, when I was a few years ago, I was like, I wish WWE were on here, because then, you know, you can get backstage stuff. And now Vince has gone like social media crazy, and it's kind of ruining it, because it kind of ruins the surprise of these kind of announcements. Same as Nikki and Cena, and we didn't know that was going to happen. We knew it was going to happen, I mean, but it wasn't announced. But then it was announced on social media a few hours before.
Yeah. Well,
so they need to kind of tone this down.
What do you think of the actual segment between Reigns and Michaels? Nice touch for him to come out again. You know, for once he wasn't actually coming out to plug a movie.
Yeah, it was nice to see Shawn Michaels, the best wrestler ever. And at first I wasn't sure where they were going to go with it. I knew he was obviously going to say, give like Reigns some tips, but then Reigns was like, yeah, look, he retired you. So I thought we were going to see a switchy music or something. And to make this match a bit more interesting, you could have had special guest referee HBK, and it would have been Mr. WrestleMania, The Streak, and Roman Reigns all together. Because at the minute they're literally fighting over whose yard it is. Yeah, and it's very silly.
Yeah, that's even what I said on like the package before, just to build it up. It was just showed a picture of Reigns getting chokeslammed, and it said, whose yard is it?
Yeah, so
you know, it's just like
you need something just a little bit more. You know, a special guest referee would have done that.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess the only thing to that is, you know, Michael's played that part before.
Exactly, with the end of the era, so you can't have another end of an era. Yeah,
WrestleMania 28.
It'd be good, because you could be like, will Shawn Michaels want to see the future come through, or will he want to stay with the old era? It's just something like that. It would have been nice, but he was, I guess he's probably just in the building, so it's like, do you want to quickly do something for us?
Maybe. But it's always nice to see Michaels when he's not plugging a movie anyway. And sort of as the Jinder Reigns match set up the segment between Michaels and Reigns sort of set up Strowman.
The best bit of Raw this week.
Really
good. It's crazy.
Sort of as Reigns is walking off. It was timed perfectly as Reigns turns around. Strowman comes in and sort of takes him properly out, and he actually got wedged between the ramp and the barrier.
That's the thing. Reigns is really good at selling stuff, but it's not like him to get hit like this. But so he doesn't do it often. But he really did sell this. It was fantastic. And again, it's just like, why is Strowman not doing anything at the minute? And you know he's just going to win the Battle Royal. You know he's going to win it, and it's just
Yeah, and I guess if he was to win that Battle Royal, it would sort of salvage his loss to Reigns. I think I remember saying to you, he's not, when he lost at Fastlane, I think probably I was just a rash decision when I said, he won't come back from this. I sort of take that back a tiny bit. It just cements Reigns so much if he picked up that win going on to face Taker at Mania. Strowman, take back what I said, he probably can come back from this and winning the Battle Royal not only hopefully salvages his career once more, but then cements the Battle Royal as actually something at Mania to take very seriously, and that sort of sets up, if you want to move on to the second cruiserweight.
Yeah, I just thought what you were saying, it did kind of cement Baron Corbin. For a bit, they kind of ran with it, and it got annoying, but then he finally did get his own character, so he just kind of drops it a little bit. So I guess, Strowman couldn't do the same.
And it did with Cesaro for a tiny bit. I think he had that Paul Heyman guy thing for a bit, but with Big Show, it sort of was a bit meh. And I think the Battle Royal should, which many people have probably said and would totally agree with me, should be a match to cement the future. Certainly not the past, certainly not Big Show anyway when he won it a couple of
when
years.
Cesaro won it, he picked up the Big Show and he put that's great.
That got a massive pop.
It did, and I know people say the Giant should win it, but it's nice to see someone get picked up and thrown over that's that big.
And we'll wait and see. And shall we now move on to the second cruiserweight?
Yeah, we got to see Austin Aries in action again
against your favourite, Ariel Daivari.
I found out this is Daivari's actual cousin or something.
Oh really?
Yeah, I think so.
Because there's obviously another Daivari back. Yeah, I think he was with Muhammad Hassan back in the day.
Yeah, I think they actually are related. Yeah. Austin Aries in TNA, he was great. Just to see him, I never saw him in NXT. I know he got injured, so he wasn't around. It was which is a good match to kind of to make him look good for the following day, which we know he won.
Well, this was probably the only match of the night that I actually remember mostly for the wrestling. I'll be the first to admit, I've never really been a fan of TNA. I think back in like 2012, 2013, I only watched it for like a period of time. Yeah. I think that was when like Jeff Hardy was won the title, like Bound for Glory.
Yeah.
I was searching about what is WrestleMania's equivalent with the other companies, Starrcade, WCW, and Bound for Glory. And that's the only time I actually watched it. And I think Austin Aries was around the time then, but I didn't actually see him that much. This was really a great match, perfectly against someone like Navari, sort of someone that you want it against. So Aries can showcase all of his abilities to people who aren't familiar with him. Not everyone has watched TNA in the past, and people hasn't watched him in NXT much. Probably, either they don't want to watch it or because they can't watch him because he's been injured. I haven't seen him much over his career, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it just showcased his abilities in the ring, which further cements his reasoning to face Neville at Mania.
Like we said earlier, it will be a very good match. It's the cruiserweight match, but you could have this on the card by itself without the whole purple ropes and things, and it would be a good match.
I'm really looking forward to it. It's actually. I can't speak for you, but it's actually one of my the match I'm looking forward to. One of them the most.
Yeah, apart from the Wyatt match and the Owens match, so far the match has been announced. It's probably the sounding the best.
I might even be looking forward to that more than the Owens Jericho match. I don't know if it's just me or
I think it's just the build up for this.
For some reason, I just feel like it's sort of just taken one step back. I don't know why. I don't know. I just woke up more than I thought. But I am very much looking forward to it, and the build has been great. But maybe this week, just because it was at the start of Raw, and there wasn't much that went on. I think
because of the Gallagher match as well, we kind of once they focus on just the wrestling, and it's kind of been a long time coming. Aries coming back. He always said every week on commentary. And so I think because it's going to be about the wrestling, that's what wrestling is all about.
And that's exactly what I was going to say. And also probably because I'm still buzzing off the back of what happened last week when Aries attacked.
Yeah, that was great.
Neville. That was brilliant. And showcased his finisher and showcased everything about him.
I don't like the finisher though.
Really? Yeah. I mean, I think it could be better, but I think it's sufficient, and I'd probably
it's kind of original, but. To be fair, it's probably better than Superman Punch in terms of hits, but
Well, I think it just makes up for it because of like the build up, because what Reigns does, before he delivers like a Superman Punch or a spear, Aries sort of takes his elbow pad off and then like sort of delivers that forearm or whatever, so sort of makes up for it. And we'll I know we touched on it anyway, so we'll look forward to what happens in the cruiserweight. Hopefully, it's gonna. Keep on improving and hopefully win the audience back. Really, another match that I really don't want to talk about that much, but we will nonetheless.
If I'm honest, I didn't even watch this. I kind of just looked at my phone for a bit.
Similar to Show and Rusev actually. Show was sort of quite frustrated. He delivered 3 choke slams. The only difference is because in the Rusev match at Fastlane, he delivered the KO punch. From the bottom of the turnbuckle. That didn't happen. Just 3 choke slams. Off Big Show went.
I think they're mixing his genuine frustration with a bit of character building to make him frustrated in this battle royal. And I feel for Big Show, but he's past it now. It should kind of he's looking great, the best he's ever looked. But just kind of move on now. I'd rather see Braun Strowman doing these kind of things.
Well, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and I totally agree with what people said. As in the fact that when Big Show is around all the time, maybe a year ago, even less than that, there were sort of retired chants, like that. But I think for some people, if they go away for a bit and then come back, you think, oh wow. And when Big Show went away from it and then he came back.
And he fought Seth Rollins or Roman Reigns.
And he came out from a couple, and then he's been on for the last few weeks. But when he came back and he fought Strowman, and what was a great main event, whether people want to complain that Show's in a main event in 2017 of Raw, they can say what they want, but that was a cracking match.
This main event with Nia Jax, so.
Yeah, but it was a cracking match with Show and Strowman. And with him, if he doesn't he can still probably maybe go on for a bit longer, whether he wants to or not. He's in great shape now, and he probably got in great shape for the Shaq match. But obviously, those plans has most probably fallen through. But if he comes back in segments, people do want to see what he still has to offer at that age. And same with other part timers coming back. With like Goldberg come back. He's 50 years old. People want to see what shape he's in. People want to see if he can still get someone up for a jackhammer. I know it's totally different with him and Show, but that's sort of the point I'm trying to make with and I wouldn't mind seeing Show come back if he goes away for a bit.
Yeah, to me, I could never look at Big Show as a part timer unless it becomes like a 12-year gap like Goldberg, because since I started watching wrestling, this is when, obviously I know he was in WCW before and he came over and he was like, oh wow, that's giant, but they went with that storyline again back in about 2009, 2008, and that's when I started watching it. So to me, he's always been the big giant guy, and you know what he's capable of. So I think if he came, it would be different to me if he was just there every few weeks instead of. But until he goes away for like 3-4 years and then comes back, that's when I'll be like, okay, well, cool, let's see what he can do.
Yeah. Talking about giants. No. And the last match.
She's not like most girls.
No, she certainly isn't. Bayley and Nia. I think that was the third match of the night that actually ended in a DQ. And again, simple storyline. Nia's frustrated that she's not, in the main event and not in the triple threat of Mania.
I think she's generally been put in that now. I just don't think she's kind of ready to be in the same ring as Charlotte. To be honest.
Wait, did you say? Do you still think she'll?
No, that's what I mean. I think they're generally kind of ruling it out now.
No, I think she still will be. But saying that, they're showing all the graphics of the triple threats and everything, and they're sort of making out
there's
like
been
it's
talks about Dana Brooke as well. So like maybe they can just leave these out and let it be a triple threat. Maybe Vince is playing it safe because last year it was a triple threat and it was show stealing. So
yeah, I still think that she might win her way in.
I hope not.
But it was sort of the storyline. Stephanie put Nia in a match against Bayley, sort of showcase what she can do because she was so frustrated by not being in this match at Mania. Very quick, I think you could read her lips or hear what she said. She said that's about making a statement and whatever. And
yeah, I mean it's the difference between making a statement and getting the wins to deserve something.
Exactly.
So
and
it's maybe next week she'll come out and say, look what I did to the champion. But she should actually show what she can do instead of.
Well, she's not like most girls, is she? So
she's not.
Nah, she can do what she wants.
I'll definitely say that next week as well. She'll say she's not like most girls.
Yeah,
Fatal 4-way.
But like I said, three DQ matches in the night, so we sort of move on swiftly and talk more about the segments that really were the more prominent points on the night.
I noticed the DQ thing on SmackDown as well, and I was thinking, maybe we'll talk about it. But maybe we're kind of heading back into a bit of a ruthless kind of, like not quite attitude, but a bit more aggressive than what we're used to in the PG.
Yeah. And the main event sort of was the segment between
it was great.
What was going to happen, who was Mick Foley going to fire, and the name was
Stephanie.
Stephanie.
You Stephanie.
Which she didn't take very well, and they have these really intense face-offs, and that once again, and which has happened in previous weeks, and I'm always scared that Foley's tooth is going to come out this week.
She took
it out this time, so but us, I wasn't worried as much. I knew it wasn't going to come out because he took it out anyway, and he, the bond between the McMahons and Foley's is certainly not improved, and Triple H was at the back, and he came out and obviously didn't take what he said about Stephanie very well, and which do you want to sort of carry on talking about what happened in the segment?
I remember saying a couple of weeks ago that I imagine there'll be a face-off between Triple H and Mick Foley. Obviously, because Mick Foley wouldn't face off against Stephanie, it'd be gender problems and stuff. But it's just fantastic. I remember watching it, and this is the first time you've seen old people in the ring for a while, and it's kind of like, wow. Mick Foley firing Stephanie, that was dumb because she is the boss of him. You can't fire your boss. But that got a lot of yes chants, and then she started chanting CM Punk again, and she got annoyed. You could see, but she had to stay in character because she was halfway through something. And it was nice to see Triple H. Like Triple H on the mic, he's probably, to me, he's probably the best ever. He can sell anything. And you really felt what he was saying to Mick Foley. You felt like Mick Foley, he didn't say anything back. Mick Foley just took this, and you felt like him, like you didn't know what to say. He was just kind of vulnerable in a moment of attack from Triple H. The one thing though, he mentioned the injured leg, which is why he's hip, because that's why he's going away, which was silly. And then the best thing that's happened on Raw in a long time, Mick Foley gets out the Mr. Socko. And he did it a bit shit. The camera was still on him, and you saw it come out. But apart from that, it was, you could tell it was coming, and it was great.
It was a hell of a moment. I was buzzing, and you wouldn't expect probably Foley to be doing that anymore. And it was just really nice to have a bit of a nostalgic edge to it as well. And when Triple H was talking, there were actually some CM Punk chants again, and he actually got really flustered. I don't know if anyone else realised that. And he paused for a bit, and he really got flustered, and he couldn't stop. Just like Stephanie when they were chanting, he couldn't just stop, address those chants, and go back. Last week he actually said something about the world class medical care, and you just got to accept it, and he said the best in the world as well, which really annoyed me. And I guess that's what he was intending to do, and annoyed a CM Punk fan like myself. And with Foley. Mr. Socko comes out, and Stephanie gives Mick a low blow, and so that gets Mick out of the way, and out
but
comes...
he's not fully fired yet. That's the thing.
No, he's not, and we'll see what happens next week. But once Foley's out of the way, out comes...
Sadly, Seth Rollins, because I couldn't hear anything, and then I heard lots of cheering, because obviously it comes up on the Tron first. I was like, shit, is this Finn Balor? And it wasn't, sadly. But obviously it makes sense, Seth Rollins being there. But as soon as I saw him on the crutch, I was like, he's going to throw this away. You could just kind of tell these things. But this is the first time in this kind of rivalry that I've been like, oh, this is going to be great at WrestleMania. And it's got me really excited for it. He hobbles down to the ring, and he just picks it up, and he throws it to the side, and he's like, yeah, look, I'm fit, come and take me. It was great.
Yeah, it's properly taken off now. I probably in the weeks before I was actually looking forward to it anyway. I thought it did have something that maybe the other feuds wouldn't have, but I think it has taken off, and certainly this week. And it was a really good ending, really. You would think that actually Rollins had the edge because he had the crutch, but in the end the tables were turned, and even as the show was about to end, Triple H was clubbing.
Yeah, it's like the show got finished. It's just the one final thing on the little pit. When that little thing comes in the corner, that's it.
Yeah.
It was quite an impact. I know it's obviously not full steel and it's bent, but it was great. Again, because then you kind of sat there like, oh shit, is he injured again? But it was some impact. And did you see the slow motion footage on WWE?
No, I haven't.
That was
decent,
it looks so good, and like Triple H when he's proper shouting like all the veins and stuff. It's really good, and I think this is probably the best Raw's ever ended in a long time.
Yeah, and to sum Raw up, really, again, it's quite a very positive
segment.
Raw.
It was a segmented show, but that's what, to be fair,
that's what you want, really.
It's like to put in a comparison with the boxing. You don't want to see a mini fight first or anything. You want to see the face-offs, and then you want to see the match. So with the wrestling, you want to see the promos, and then you want to see the match. You don't want to see. Raw have got better with this, but we saw Sami Zayn and Owens again like last week.
Yeah.
But they've got better in the fact that we're not seeing Reigns versus Undertaker 2 hours in on Raw every week.
Exactly.
They're waiting for WrestleMania, and it's something SmackDown have always done well. And we should move on.
Yeah, well, just finally, the last 2-3 weeks of Raw, they've turned it around really, and that people have been, SmackDown is the show. It really isn't looking like the B show, but Raw have really turned it around at the moment. They're sort of hot and cold in terms of their shows a lot of the time. But I was impressed. Was I impressed with SmackDown? We will delve into it. Maybe not as much. And like I said at the start of the podcast, a mixed bunch, and I was really sort of referring to SmackDown really when I said that mixed bunch, and I feel like it started off with a positive start, and again, probably more about the segments and the promos more than the wrestling itself, especially when it came to probably the main event. Came out and AJ Styles was just talking about his frustrations of having to jump through hoops, as he says, but at the end of the day, he's not getting the title match that he wants at Mania. Did you like the?
I really
promo?
liked the start of this. I've always liked AJ Styles, and I've always, I always said he's, the greatest performer on the show. But I'm starting to finally, become a fan, as you could say, and you can really feel his frustration. I mean, the Wyatt story with Orton, that to me, that deserves the WrestleMania time it's going to have. But then you kind of, every year there's always going to be someone that deserves to be there, but they're not. And obviously this year it's AJ Styles, and for the first time that frustration's coming across, and it's this week it peaked, and it was fantastic.
Yeah. Should we talk about the actual thing that happened with Shane now, or should we?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah, let's link it all together. Well, firstly, I'd want to say that when the rumours really did surface about Styles and Shane fighting at Mania, really wasn't that overwhelmed. Am I now? Probably not. But it was. I thought the attack on Shane was a huge positive, and a huge positive to try and salvage something of this and try and create something before the match.
Talking smack as well was great. They really sold the match there.
And if you didn't see it, just an interview with the lovely Renee Young, and sort of he hides out the way, and as Shane was apparently going to be late to SmackDown, and as he gets out of his car, the attack came from AJ. And what do you think about the spot as he? Yeah,
that's what I mean. We're starting to see a bit more of an aggressive SmackDown.
He threw Shane through the car window. Yeah,
I think SmackDown is kind of become its own little brand now, and it's going to start being a bit more aggressive, because there was the bit where Daniel Bryan was like to the Miz, we'll talk about this later, when he was like, I really want to punch you in the face. Like, you would never hear that. You'd imagine a kid saying that. Like it was great. But yeah, the actual spot itself, it was a bit bad at the start when he's like crouched behind the car and Shane's slowly shutting the door to say bye. But then the pounce was great, and he slammed him into like some kind of vending machine or something. It was a bit like, but then the actual through the window was great.
I thought it was okay. I wasn't actually sure, because it was just like I didn't think it was greatly done. It was sort of afterwards actually happened. You think, oh yeah, he just got smashed through.
Yeah.
I thought he was just going to bounce his head off.
I had to watch it again. Right.
But the fact that he obviously had I liked afterwards, and I liked the fact that they kept going back to Shane being hurt, and with
throughout
the blood,
the show,
the blood dripping down his face. The only thing that was quite funny is the fact that Finlay comes out.
I love him.
Imagine having Jamie Noble as well. I think it was
he was like, he was walking out was the other side, wasn't he? He's like, you should really consider this. He should have Shillelagh smacked AJ Styles on the head. And Renee, she's a bit of a poor actor. She's good at interviewing, but
and then she went, oh my god, the mic was still there. I thought she was going to get an exclusive interview with Shane post attack. Probably would have put it down or just turned it off and chucked it away. But Renee can do what she wants.
And at first I thought the blood was like fake. I couldn't tell. It looked like
it didn't look great. The fact that the way that it was dripped down. Yeah, because
they kind of pulled his hair up a bit and they've plastered it there. But and Renee was like, "Look at his eye," and it's like, well, "There's nothing wrong." But it was for to kind of to show the aggression and the frustration that Styles has. Then it was good for that sake.
I want to talk about something I watched yesterday. I don't usually plug much on the network, and I don't really have a desire to, but there's a new show on the network called Bring It to the Table. There's only been 2 shows where they really just talk about how they quick fire. They talk through a lot of talking points, not just through the WWE, but online, and they actually spoke about the rumors of matches that have surfaced online, and that they did talk about Shane and AJ. And actually Corey Graves said this AJ, he can hold a match with anyone, and JBL was like, he's the best wrestler since Michaels, which I actually agree with. And Graves said, but although he can hold a match with anything, Styles and Shane does nothing for me, and that's what he said. And I think it's good to have a bit of realism in those type of shows, and especially the hardcore fans who actually subscribe to the network. And I agree with Graves slightly, although it does do something for me now after this SmackDown. But like you said, someone's got to be left out. Someone is going to feel like they should have maybe a more lucrative match, and unfortunately, Styles is that guy. Maybe Owens as well could be that guy. Unfortunately, Styles, I think, has taken
Yeah, I think
taken
with Owens, he's got Jericho, one of the best performers ever, for a title as well. So it's not really it's not really a bad point for him, even though he did deserve to give up the Universal title. But for Styles, but like you said, this week, up until this week, I was like, it's just going to be a bit of a bore. And then they did sell it quite well. They were talking about how Shane never gives up, and then you kind of have a flashback of when he's jumped through the cell, the Survivor Series match, and you think of all these things, and you're like, okay, maybe if there's some kind of no DQ or something, then it'll be an exciting match, not a good match. And I agree, Styles is probably the best performer since Shawn Michaels, so he deserves to be doing good things. But I hope he really kind of invests himself in this match because it could be a very good talking point. Like the next day, you go, "Did you see the Styles match?" And I think he could really do that with Shane if he's invested in it.
He could be so frustrated as well, and channel that frustration. I can remember watching a podcast with him and Austin, which is actually on the network, and he said, although lost to Jericho and everything, he was just in the company and he was gonna get some other benefits. Maybe you think, well, a year later, another Mania, he's still not getting that maybe iconic match that he wanted, and he's probably going to be pissed off, and he's probably going to have frustration that he wants to air, and he could do that at Mania. He could, Shane is a guy that just has spots, and AJ runs a match from start to finish. They're not going to have an amazing match, probably, because of Shane is not a wrestler all the time. He has his spots. He has his elbow through the table. He has his coast to coast, which works most of the time. He doesn't have that much more. People still want to see it every Mania, but he's not going to be able to hold that match. They're not going to be able to steal the show. Yeah. And Styles is going to want to do anything he can to cement himself on that card, and then on to whatever happens for him on Raw or SmackDown, wherever he heads off.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The Undertaker match, the first 20 minutes before they've actually knocked the cell down, it was a bit like, what am I watching? Yeah. Like, this is two old men hitting each other. So, like you said, he is just a kind of a spot guy. So I think if Styles kind of runs the match and then he lets kind of a coast to coast happen, it's got a good build to it, which is what a match needs. But the actual match itself, it's not going to steal the show. And I think afterwards we are going to see Styles on Raw.
Hopefully. For his sake anyway, I'd love to see that. But with the Shane Taker match last year at Mania, people obviously, first and foremost, are going to remember that, him jumping off the cell. But people will also think that match was 30 minutes, So that tells a lot of what they actually think of the match, And just, like I just said, not going to be able to have the greatest of matches, but the storytelling itself, like Shane, I think it was great. And at the end, which we'll go to when he comes out at the end,
that was great.
Really good.
It was just 2 seconds long. It was great.
Both having, think of something coming of nothing, and now it's actually going to be a nice storyline, and they both have, meaningful reasons to just go at each other. Well, hopefully that could make something of the match. Yeah,
at WrestleMania last year, it was my first WrestleMania I watched live in 2-3 years, and I felt like a 10-year-old again when I've seen Shane at the top. And it's like, oh wow, and he's jumped through. And even the older fans, they like to see those kind of spots. So if they focus on, afterwards they'll always show that even now you still see Shane jumping off the top, and that was almost a year ago. So I think this is kind of for the memories and not for a good match.
And there's probably going to be a stipulation with the match, of course. I think it would be a bit odd, excuse me, if it was just a standard singles match.
We'll move on to it, but I can't see them having a stipulation there and in the Intercontinental title match.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
But in my opinion, I wouldn't want to see an Intercontinental no DQ match. I want to see the two wrestle for what it is.
That's the thing, because you've got those two matches on SmackDown, which are both singles matches. You have Goldberg, Lesnar, you have KO, Jericho. They all have claims to have stipulations with those matches, because of how intense those feuds are.
Yeah. With Shane, you kind of need it, I think.
Yeah, especially that one. And we'll move on. There's last week there was actually only three matches on SmackDown. Even though it's a 2-hour show, I was still surprised by that. This week there was 4, which is probably something that I would prefer. there was a good balance, but the matches weren't great itself, and again, mainly remembered by maybe what happened after the match, and that probably makes sense when you talk about Becky Lynch against Natalya.
To be honest, again, I skipped this match. I skipped. What I do is I skip to the last kind of 2-3 minutes.
Well, you didn't miss much.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
And I mean the bit at the end with Carmella coming out to attack Becky Lynch and Natalya. That was the match. It was because beforehand they advertised it with just the 4 of them, but it said every woman on SmackDown.
Yeah, it's a bit odd, isn't it? Yeah. It's like it's a big match, and it's very much like AJ defending her title against everyone at WrestleMania 30 or 30, I think, and it's like, Alexa's defending her title against every available superstar. Yeah. It's like Nikki, and we'll talk about Nikki, but Nikki thinks that a mixed tag team is more important than going after the SmackDown belt. Yeah. Which probably says a lot about her claims to what she wants to compete for.
I had a big rant about this last week as well, about it's rumoured that you're going to see Kelly and Victoria at WrestleMania, and that's going to be in this match, obviously, unless they're just doing so. But Kelly did say she wants to wrestle, so I believe she will be. I don't know about Victoria. So it's just kind of a way to get everyone into the match, because Natalya doesn't deserve to be there. Becky Lynch, we've seen it many times before, and there had to be a way for Mickey and Alexa to start this feud. So they've had to do this, and we're going to see Naomi come back as well. So it's just a bit of a scramble, isn't it?
Well, I think that all just starts from the fact it's every available. Why wouldn't you want to compete for the title? And but there's 5 confirmed at the moment, and Becky, Natalya, Carmella, Mickey, and Alexa, I believe, and that sort of moves on to the next match, which was Mickey against Alexa, and Mickey beat Alexa clean.
This was a great match. It's probably one of my favourite matches of the week.
Yeah, the most memorable match on the show.
I really liked it. I think it's because this is what I wanted to see at Mania. I wanted to see Mickey James versus Alexa.
I've heard that on Twitter with other people as well. And would have been a fitting match. A lot of singles matches would be on the card, which is probably.
But I think they needed a singles women match because we've got the triple threat, and now we're going to have like 10 women in the ring or whatever.
It's a bit of a trivia. I can't actually remember the last time that there was a singles match at Mania for a women's belt.
I think we could talk about the part timers are there for the common fan. I think I think having lots of women in the ring at one time is for the common fan as well. As you still get people going saying "Core, they're hot," and it's kind of like it's kind of like a lot of people don't understand what's been going on. And when they watch WrestleMania, they just get the build-up before, and that's what they see. So they're not going to understand the women's revolution. They're not going to understand how great Charlotte is. So to see lots of, mainly attractive women in the ring at one point, for them it's a bit of a, wow. And that's what it is. But for us, we want to see Alexa Bliss versus Mickie James because they're both very talented.
Well, like that's a very good point. And for sort of like the casual fan, they, like you said, they don't know what the revolution is. They probably just think these models, they're still in this era where a lot of wrestlers are coming from modern backgrounds, and it's more about the appearance than the wrestling itself. And times have changed, But the match itself, sort of Mickey have been sort of turned a face very very quickly. Yeah, maybe a bit rushed, or do you think it's the right time?
No, I think it was all right because on Talking Smack as well. If you watch Talking Smack with SmackDown, it altogether it works very well. But yeah, it was good because Alexa could have finished it then, and she wanted to do a bit more, and then it's kind of good because it's showing that she wants to really kind of beat everyone, and. She missed the flip, and she got Mick kicked in the side of the head, and Mickey picked up the win, which is good for her, I guess, as she is claiming she's the one that deserves this. Bad for Alexa. I think Alexa's going to go on a bit of a losing streak before Mania to kind of make her giving up the belt a bit less, a bit surprising. And the actual face turn itself on Talking Smack, she was like, we had a deal, me and Alexa. I would help Alexa out, and then she would give me my chance at WrestleMania, and the best woman would win. And obviously, in the situation, if you don't keep a promise, you're the bad person. So it's kind of right now to turn her face.
Yeah, that's a good point, and we'll see what happens with that. And
I still think Naomi's going to win. I think Naomi will come back. Imagine Kelly won. Imagine.
Yeah.
Back in my when I was like 12, I had a huge crush on her, but now it'd be like, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Because I love Alexa. She's very talented, and again, she showed it this week.
Yeah. And like you said, that was the match that I remember from SmackDown.
Yeah.
One that I want to wash my hands with. Let's have some quick fire Mojo Rawley talk.
See, I forgot this happened. I watched it like 5-6 hours ago. Jesus.
Based around the fact that Ziggler hasn't announced, but he's probably going to be in the Battle Royal. They have the match, and it's just Ziggler just getting chucked out of the ring a lot of time. He gets pissed off and
just walks off.
And he Rawley wins via count out. I thought something else was going to happen, and then it cut to JBL and Tom Phillips. And
that's another thing.
Yeah.
Just the two. It was very nice this week.
David Otunga was
making a film, so hopefully he's just gone forever.
And Ranallo was
snowed
stuck in snow.
Yeah, hopefully
and it worked.
Hopefully gets stuck in snow forever.
Yeah.
And JBL, David Otunga films his film forever because it was very nice.
And JBL's improving all the time.
I really like Tom Phillips as the lead. I really like that, and he's really good because he's kind of up to date, which is what WWE are trying to do. They're trying to keep everything up to date. So having a younger commentator is up to date, and I think we'll see him be the lead, and we'll see Corey Graves be the lead. I think it'd really work. And JBL, he's getting better. He messed up a few times, but there wouldn't be SmackDown without that. So.
And also, I think that a lot of people probably make comparisons, and they have online with like Tom Phillips and like to other people that have been on before, like a Josh Matthews or other people who are quite bland. But I don't. But I disagree with people who think Tom Phillips is bland.
Yeah,
I think he has a lot more to him than maybe those other people, and he doesn't try like Josh Matthews and maybe like Matt
Todd
Stryker.
Grisham.
Yeah. That's probably more of a name to include other than like Josh Matthews or someone like that. Like, he's not trying too hard. He's just being natural, and it works. And I really like him, actually. At first I thought he was a bit bland, but this week, given the lead, he delivered. He kept us up to date. Yeah.
He did what he had to do. He did all the promotions, all the go to visit website. He did the women's. He did it all really well. And JBL by his side, it was great. There should just be the two of them.
Right, moving on to what I thought was actually
that was more important than the Ziggler match.
There was, and I like talking about the commentary team. I don't think we do as much, actually, and it's good to pay compliments to people where it's due.
Yeah.
And
I think Tom Phillips needed this as well after bad press.
It's happened, and other people like Moro, like and certainly Otunga, like we probably don't slate them as much as we should. I'm obviously not going to be slating on people all the time. I would love to give constructive feedback all the time, but when you have someone like Moro getting Elimination Chamber Hell in a Cell mixed up,
that was awful,
and he references a lot of things in pop culture that people don't really want to
especially old pop culture. I don't understand like old Hollywood stuff.
And I think on Bring It to the Table, like JBL's getting really annoyed because Ronaldo like retweets all like compliments all the time.
Yeah.
He's getting really annoyed. I'm not sure if I think it was from a podcast I listened to, or you said that to me. I'm not sure, but anyway, Tom Phillips, JBL.
Keep it like that.
Keep it like that. Let's hope that Tunga's making films forever, and that there's no. I thought this next segment was going to be last on, but it wasn't. It was before the tag team match at the end.
It didn't make sense. I guess it's to put the Shane McMahon thing. But once you're overshadowing your main event with Shane McMahon, it's a bit.
Yeah.
Because I listened to what he said, but I was a bit bored.
The Randy addressing Bray Wyatt. I read something actually on this. It didn't affect my opinion on this. I actually agreed. Randy was just sort of, with what he said, he was sort of just trying to remember his lines. There wasn't much panache with what he was saying.
Yeah.
And the bit that sort of I was a bit more captivated from was when we panned to Bray Wyatt at what was left of the Wyatt compound, really.
Yeah, I don't understand though. He's just rubbing
soil on
himself.
I sort of just had to take a step back and think what really what the crack was and what was going on. But basically, he sort of said that. Well, Randy said that he had to take away his most important thing, which was the soul of Sister Abigail.
Yeah.
And Bray said, I believe, that Sister Abigail was the spawn of Satan, and that she'll always live on through Bray, and that he's been reborn and he's a new man, and sort of baptized himself in the what was left of the compound, rubbing dirt. I thought it was weird. He started rubbing dirt and mud all around his arms, and then I thought, he's definitely not going to wash his face with it, and he did. He's rubbed it all over his face.
He did.
Crowd don't know what to do.
I think you just summed that up better than what Randy and Bray did,
Right.
to be
Thank you
honest.
very much.
Because I was just a bit lost. Like, this is a match that's a long time coming, and we've all known it as well. So to kind of make it just to get it over the finishing line to WrestleMania, it's a bit hard. So they've had to. Bray was a lot better than Randy this week. I really kind of felt what Bray was saying, and we're going to see. They both mentioned about turning a bit more psycho than before, and for Bray that's relevant. Randy, I wouldn't call him a psycho, not since 2009. So.
That's the Randy that I
maybe see a return of that Randy, because that's the Randy I like. I don't like the authority Randy or the veteran Randy. I like the just a bit after Legend Killer when he was kicking people in the head.
I like that as well.
I like that.
Yeah.
So to see that and Bray would be really good, because then it's both demonic, as they said.
I think whatever happens, we still got two more episodes of Raw and SmackDown before Mania. I think whatever happens, I'm still going to be pumped for this match. I think I said previously, when they actually fought at No Mercy, I believe, really wasn't into it. It's totally different now. They've totally flipped.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to whatever happens. Bray needed something, just something, and that really came in the form of the title.
Well, I remember after Elimination Chamber, I was so pumped for this match. It's kind of gone a bit. I'm more excited for KO and Jericho and see what's going on over there. I think this is as a whole, as Raw, SmackDown, as Raw's become better than SmackDown. So I think that's kind of gone there. But because we didn't see Bray at all last week, and I'm still excited for this. I'm always going to be excited for a Bray Wyatt match, especially when the title's on the line. But we haven't seen much of him since he's won. We haven't seen the belt on him at all, apart from once. And it's just, you just need these little things that will get you excited, because once we remember Bray's champion, it's like, wow, Bray is actually champion.
Yeah, and I think you're right. It would have been nice, like, I guess they did reiterate it, like, the day after Elimination Chamber, they had that triple threat with AJ and Cena.
Yeah.
But I would have liked just him to, just even, I guess you can't because of the storyline and what he's trying to say, but just him to be out there a bit more, maybe, just in the middle of the ring with that title, just around his waist.
Just to for people to remember he's champion.
Yeah, because it's like,
so at the minute it feels like it's not a title match.
And after when he won it, I was like, wow, look how far he's come. And I said, like 3 years, but now it's like it's sort of at the back of my head a bit more now.
Typical WWE just to bury him now at this point. And it's going to be annoying because he hasn't had a chance to kind of flash it off or defend it at all, apart from in that triple threat. And in my opinion, he deserves to keep it for quite a while, especially if Styles does move. But it just looks like Randy's going to win it.
You think he will?
Yeah, and Bray's going to kind of drop off. Hopefully, if they do anything, Luke Harper comes back, they do something with him, because you haven't seen Luke Harper in 2 weeks now. Again, probably just in the battle. That's the thing. If someone's been good all year, why would you reward them with just being in a crowded ring? I know that I read this on Twitter the other day, and it made it very clear. Why is WrestleMania becoming a participation award? Back in the day, WrestleMania, if you got to WrestleMania, it'd be like, wow. So why shove 30 men in the ring like Mojo Rawley? He doesn't deserve to be on a WrestleMania card. And then you have people like Luke who have to share the ring with him, and it's a bit like, it's a bit kind of underwhelming.
It is something that has featured in the last few years of Mania. People who are never going to have that iconic singles match, or even like a triple threat or whatever, even a ladder match, they just chuck him in. Yeah,
the frustration I think started from The Rock coming back to fight Cena, and it was announced a whole year before, so everyone knew there wasn't going to be in the main events. There's no point trying, and it's kind of, now you've got Goldberg, and it's kind of like, I know it's like we said, it's for the fan that doesn't watch it all the time, but for us, we wanted to see Kevin Owens in the main event, even if he did fight Chris Jericho or if he fought Brock Lesnar. It would have been nice just to, just for someone who deserves to be there, because we haven't got Kevin Owens or AJ Styles in the main event this year.
And you probably, sum up that this is, you could say that, like you said, it's WrestleMania sort of become a participation award by the poster by WrestleMania. You know, usually it's like a bit more, like you said, boxing, like the iconic people on the poster, the iconic people that you're looking forward to seeing. It's just like chuck everyone in, you know.
Yeah, like Tyson Deal's on the advert. Like,
Yeah.
why? You don't watch a whole year of wrestling and subscribe to the network and keep up to date with everything just to see Titus O'Neil. You want to see Styles lift the title at the end with the credits going. It's just what you want, and you're not getting it.
And maybe something that I've actually appreciated that. Or the last time that I've really appreciated something like that, or that the people would have wanted, was back at like WrestleMania 20, like Benoit and Eddie Guerrero. Yeah. And it's like, that's so iconic. I wasn't watching wrestling around that point, but it's so iconic that so many people talk about it. I went back and watched that, and even felt something then. Even like, what was it, like 10 years on after that happened, when I actually watched it. I don't think we're ever going to get that for a long time now, unfortunately.
Because at WrestleMania 24, the first WrestleMania I watched like live, we had Big Show against Floyd Mayweather, and this is a great match, but this wasn't the main event, and it obviously made a lot of draw because you want to see the best boxer ever, well, one of the best boxers ever, take out your biggest guy, which happened, and it was great. But it wasn't the main event, it wasn't the selling point. The selling point was Triple H and Randy Orton, and after all the build-up with that. And that's what you wanted to see. And then WrestleMania 25, they kept saying, and 26, they said Undertaker, Shawn Michaels is the main event, but it wasn't, and that's when it started with all these main events. And in the last few years, they've kind of made it more about the spectacle rather than the wrestling, as you see, like WrestleMania 17, my favourite.
Fun fact, Mayweather, I believe he got paid $20 million.
He got paid a lot for that.
I think it was around, I think Tyson got paid like $20 million. It maybe a bit less because of the timing, but there was a hell of a lot of money as well when he was the referee for Stone Cold and Shawn Michaels. Last stretch now, and I wasn't expecting to see the Usos in the last match of the night, but they were. Picking up a win against American Alpha in a non-title match. I didn't actually think that this would be on SmackDown, actually. I thought there'd be more of a build, but I guess that if you're going to feature the tag team in some way or another that they needed to on SmackDown, this was the way to go, and the only possible match that they could have done. Like, do you agree? Or?
Yeah, I remember a few months ago we were saying that the SmackDown tag team division is the best thing about SmackDown, and look where it's gone now. This is what happens when you don't, weekly. The American Alpha wasn't on Raw or on SmackDown rather for 5 weeks, I think it was, and your tag champions not to have a match for that long. The tag team titles are never, to me, I wouldn't watch a pay-per-view to see that unless they had a good build to it. And I think for this match, they need a ladder match. Just need a ladder match, and it's safe, but it always works. The Usos are known for doing flips and things. You never seen American Alpha in a ladder match. That would be interesting, and just to have that, it's really needed because this match really bored me. And the fact Shane was coming out, they showed that at the side. I was like, okay, good, this match is finishing soon.
That really summed up what.
And what really annoyed me was one of the Usos messed up, so one of the other Uso was in the air for a long time. And it's like in any other situation you jump down. So I really don't like the Usos.
I mean, the thing with Shane coming out and they kept panning to that was sort of what the people thought of or what WWE were thinking of that match anyway. It wasn't about the match; it was about what was happening backstage. You say about ladder matches, I wouldn't rule out the women's SmackDown having a ladder match. Just saying, it might be a long shot, but you never know.
You need a ladder match.
There's usually a ladder match somewhere, and it has been certainly for the last, a few years, 3-4 years, definitely been a ladder match. So why not? Why not? I mean, they don't need to reiterate the point that it's making history. Just do it. You've had a Hell in a Cell match. You've had a steel cage match. Just do it.
Yeah, exactly.
You say a couple of times, but And the only other thing was Shane came out and confirmed the match. It was like, because I didn't watch it live, so I watched it the day after, so it would obviously tell me how long I've got left of the video to watch.
Same with me.
It's like 30 seconds, and it's like Shane hasn't even come out yet, and he came out, said drop the mic, and that was that.
But that kind of, just that little 5-second bit really made me a bit more excited for this match, and that's all you need. If you just need that short amount of time to sell a match, then that's great.
Yeah. And that was that. What did you? Well, I asked you at the start already, but your overall thoughts of the week in wrestling. And well, we'll start off. What was your overall thoughts of SmackDown and sort of the overall week of wrestling moving forward?
SmackDown. It's kind of dropped off a bit because they're the ones that don't. Like I said earlier, they're the ones that don't do the preview of the match and then have the match at WrestleMania as well. They're the ones that always focus on the build. And the build was good, but the actual matches themselves were a bit bad. And that's what I mean. We missed out the Corbin Ambrose a little bit.
Yeah, we did, didn't we?
And so even that's a bit forgettable. So I SmackDown needs more people, and that's why I keep hoping Cesaro really comes over.
Well, I don't think Ambrose even featured. I think
no,
it was
they kept saying he was in hospital still.
Yeah, just an interview with Corbin. And it basically just said if Ambrose is going to come back from this, see him at Mania, really, and he'll teach him a lesson. That was it. With my opinion, Raw, for the last couple of weeks, had the edge over SmackDown. Yeah. SmackDown, although Raw wasn't really remembered for the matches, and SmackDown wasn't either. The SmackDown have laid the foundations for WrestleMania, probably not in a as effective way as Raw has this week, and that really sums it up.
I think that because they did it too early, so that's how SmackDown was getting the edge before, because we kind of knew the WrestleMania matchups. Then we saw Luke Harper against Styles and stuff like that, and that's when it was. Now they've kind of peaked a bit too early, and they've left other things too late, so they haven't got that balance. Whereas now Raw are in their element, saying this is going to happen at Mania, this is going to happen at Mania. They have the Undertaker.
Yeah,
I think I tweeted this week actually. The excitement of the Undertaker at WrestleMania is kind of gone for me now. It's a bit. Last year was a bit like it's just the Undertaker, and this year it's just completely gone. It's just the Undertaker, isn't it?
There's another thing that we forgot to talk about. It's the Miz TV segment.
Oh, we did. That was like
the
best segment.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Oh.
I'm gonna forget it. We're a minute. I said that last week. An hour, 16 through. It's been a longer episode than I thought.
Yeah.
Which is a shame that we have missed out.
Miz TV was great.
Yeah,
let's go and watch it.
It's. I'll try and summarise this very quickly.
What he said was great. This is like the best thing the Miz has said as well.
Really
How we missed that out?
And it adds a lot of realism to actually, what a lot of people actually think about Cena. He can pull the strings. Yeah. And Danny Bryan confirmed the mixed tag team match. And the thing that's very cringeworthy is, just I don't want to see Cena and Nikki making out.
Yeah.
All the
because
time.
When Maurice called her a bitch, I was really into that. I was like, go on, like girl power, all this stuff. And then Nikki's come down, like arm around Cena. It's like the Miz and Maurice are taking this very seriously. Why can't Nikki?
And Maurice, she did. Like I felt like it took a tiny bit of time to take off with this Maurice talking, but when it did take
really
off,
good,
and she when she looked right down the camera and expressed her feelings of Nikki, which I think is real. I really think she did.
It is real, yeah.
And I think Nikki, because she's becoming a lot like Cena. She's trying to pull the strings, and like I said before, she was like involved with Cena. She wasn't really around the title, let alone having the longest reign in Diva's reign. And there's a lot of realism to it, like I said, and that's what the people want sometimes.
Yeah, you mentioned John Laurinaitis as well. That was another good point. The Miz is great. When they let the Miz go out and say what he wants to say, I mean, obviously they've had to see if it's okay, because you can't, the producer you can't start slating him. But yeah, what he said was fantastic, and I really bought into it. We've made fun of the whole Total Divas thing, but this was Maurice really kind of perked up a bit,
because the Miz has more of an opportunity to say stuff about Cena. But when you think Nikki, you just think the reality TV era of WWE, and Maurice made good work of what she could say. You can't really say much else of her, because it's real. Apparently, rumor has it, Nikki, pulled the strings and maybe cost her, and I think it was Maria Kanellis and Kelly contracts to feature on. I'm not sure if that was true about the first series. I think it was just Maurice coming back. We watched that episode of Total Divas and saw that bit, and it's great, and it's all she could do, and it was effective, and the Miz must have been giving us some promo.
Yeah, I hope after Mania the Miz has a main event push, because it's just great, isn't it?
Yeah, and making good work of an opportunity. that isn't really there in terms of
He's
his
really,
tag team,
he's really making this. Without if the Miz didn't work how he did on the mic, this would be a dead match.
Really,
because John Cena's doing nothing.
Yeah. Do you see the overreaction when Brian makes that match? And it's just like Nikki jumps on him. People don't want to see it.
Exactly.
We said earlier about maybe the casual fan wanting to because they still think it's in this era of women from modelling backgrounds, and you want to see these attractive attractive
in this case
women.
It is though.
But you don't want to. But you don't want to see. I certainly don't want to see Cena making out with Nikki Bella all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, people. Even like people who watch that stuff, there comes a point where you don't want to see that every week.
And it's like it's more like a kid's fantasy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Than back in the Attitude Era with Vince and Trish and stuff like that. It's wrestling's not a fairy tale. Don't try and make it
exactly.
one. That's exactly what the Miz is trying to point out.
Yeah,
so.
It's just like, and I guess you want to make that comparison with Cena and Nikki making out, but and then you get Miz and Maurice who don't that much, and they're sort of a lot more level-headedness with them. They come out, they say their bit, and they go. But you don't want to just overdo it with Cena, I think I've said it quite a lot that I don't want to see them making out. I've said it many times.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say. And
you don't want to see them making out.
No,
I think they're trying to show that their love is real, as opposed to what the Miz is saying that is not. It's just all a bit.
Yeah.
This has kind of cost John Cena the match against Undertaker.
Yeah.
It seems what it will be his last WrestleMania. And they've given it to Reigns instead. So, I imagine John Cena's very annoyed, but you can't be annoyed at your other half. So
that's the way they're going to go. And well, at the moment, looking forward to the build. Maybe not the match itself. It probably won't.
If
be
it's the Miz and Cena in the ring for a long time, then I will enjoy it. And it's not keeps panning to Nikki and her.
But we'll see. Maurice hasn't wrestled.
If they do that double attitude adjustment. 5 knuckle shuffle.
That's what's going to happen.
We're going to turn it off. We'll watch it tomorrow, the day after, and we'll skip that. Yeah.
I'm glad I remembered and we fit that in. Actually, it wasn't in order that I would have liked. It's on my iPad now on my notes, but unfortunately we didn't mention the Miz TV, the special edition of Miz TV.
Every week's a special edition. We have a special edition of the highlight reel next week too, and I'm really excited for that.
With the real Kevin Owens.
I really hope Kevin Owens is the top dog of Raw after Mania, because he really deserves it.
So I think what were you? Do you want to?
I think Triple H agrees with me. I think he's the top dog material.
Yeah, and
Vince not so much. Because he said in the interview, didn't he? Oh, we could talk for ages. Vince said to him, Vince's right hand man said, don't think you're going to get don't get your hopes up, because you might not get too far with his body, but he's fantastic.
Yeah, and like I said before, a stable with Triple H, KO and Samoa Joe is, I think, something that maybe could.
I've heard a lot of the Club or the Revival in it too, but I didn't want that.
Maybe the Revival.
I just want the three of them.
Yeah, not the Club. I unfortunately for them, I think if they were involved in something like that, in Japan, sure. Not here because of not because of their fault, just because of what has happened with them.
You've got Triple H with a sledgehammer, being all serious, and you've got Luke Gallows going nerd. It's like, you can't be doing that. But after Mania as well, I think we're going to see the Revival. We're going to see Asuka. We're going to see Ty Dillinger, but that's not exciting to me. But we are going to see fresh faces again, and it's good because they've started to make WrestleMania a season thing now.
Yeah, well, and that's it. Like you said, we'll see. You said you're probably going to see fresh faces, and we will get a new fresh episode of the Undercards Marks next week. Follow us on Twitter at TUS Wrestling. Follow Brad at Twitter at
TUS Bradley.
And follow me on Twitter at MattDale97. Thank you for joining us for a very long episode of the Undercards Marks. We just had a lot to talk about. And
2 weeks of kind of build.
Yeah.
And we've got a lot of WrestleMania build now, so come back next week and more WrestleMania build, hopefully.
More WrestleMania build up, more reviewings of Raw and SmackDown, and I'm sure you'll look forward to catching us again next week. We will catch you later. Ta-ra.